Hi, it's Katrina with SacTown5. I'm here in Sacramento at the Diplomat, and I'm excited to share with you that we have a special guest with us who's performing later this evening. Too Short, one of the original rappers of the Bay Area and obviously from California. Too Short, thanks for joining us.
How you doing?
Good, good. We're excited to talk to you because before you go on and actually perform, we wanted to learn a little bit about you, what you're up to these days, and then also get into some of the hot topics. You're here in Sacramento. This is where politics is made. Anything that happens here in Sacramento,
the capital of California,
and everything else from California ends up going and affecting other states and the entire nation. So it's important for us to have folks like you who are in town to get your input and to also learn about what you've been up to. So thank you for being here. So I want to get into, speaking of who you are, what you're up to these days. Obviously, I mentioned original Bay Area rapper. You've been in the industry for over 30 years now.
Just about my whole life.
There aren't too many people that get to say that they're in the entertainment industry, especially when it comes to music. I mean, how have you done that, and where are you today with that industry?
Well, I attribute a lot of my longevity to the city of Oakland, just because of the character of the city and what it instills in you. That Raider vibe, that the Oakland A's, that kind of little small town that does big things. And Oakland has a great music heritage. From the new guy, the last wave of guys with Hammer and Too Short and Tony and In Vogue and groups like a lot of groups, Digital Underground. But then even before that, it was the Pointer Sisters, it was the Whisperers, it was groups that were based in Oakland that made a lot of music, Tower of Power. Yeah. So that's one thing. And then I just love music. I was a little kid in the elementary school band.
How did you start? I mean, give us a little background. People know obviously of your music. I grew up listening to it, Bay Area girl myself.
I played instruments as a kid.
Okay.
I played the drums, I played guitars, I played keyboards. I could do anything. If it made music, I could make it work. And when hip hop first went commercial, I was in high school. I was just starting high school. Wow. And I immediately, as a drummer, said to myself, I can do that, because it's just the cadences and the rhythm. Right. So I started rapping at the age of 14.
But you stayed independent. So you started independent and you stayed independent.
Well, I did a long run with Jive Records.
Okay.
They signed E40 and myself for a nice little run there. I did about 12 albums with them. And then I went right back to my roots.
So tell us the difference of being independent back then.
Well, when you're with a major label, you have this machine behind you that does a lot of things that you can't do, and they have a lot of avenues that just shelf placement in stores, just all kind of things that radio station spins. They have a lot of network locked down for the major labels. So when you're independent, you're like on the outside looking in. You know what to do, but they won't allow you to do certain things, and it takes like ridiculous amounts of money to compete with major labels. But then there's another way, if you get your formula together, how to make a good profit without having to sell millions of records. You still can have a wonderful career. You won't need a day job, and Christmas and birthdays will be great.
Well, you've been a businessman back then successfully and with your brand, and today still independent with your brand, and you're performing tonight. What's the difference when it comes to being independent back then versus independent now in the social media era? How is that looking? What do you think about it?
Well, we have multiple platforms now, and many income streams that you can tap into if you become popular. And you don't even need a hot record. You just need to be popular now. Yeah. Popularity is, oh my God. They use that phrase, content is king, but literally, you can make a lot of money if you just, which is what we do. We do a lot of creating content, but it's not really hot unless you get some popularity attached to it.
Back then, you were out there selling your actual records on the streets, right?
Yeah, it was without social media, what do you do? Like there was no such thing as social media. So you literally, I think it's the exact same thing. Like a phrase like social media. Right. Like if I'm jumping off the bus or driving my car around with music in a paper bag or in the trunk of my car, and I'm going from place to place asking people, would you like to buy this? That's kind of the same concept of social media, except you're doing it socially up close and in person.
And on the computer and versus in person.
Yeah, so if I had a computer back then and there was a MySpace or a Instagram or a Facebook or something, I could have did what I did on the internet. But that was an
Did it
option.
the
So
way
we figured out, where are people gathering? Let's go to where they're at and ask a group of people, a crowd of people, if they want to buy this music. And we had good music, so they bought it. And it turned out to be sort of like a paper route, like a delivery system. I'd have a little pad like that right there, and I'd take a few names and a couple of, things that you might want. And we come back and deliver out tapes. And I had a rap partner's name was Freddie B. And we were pretty popular long before any records came out, anything on the radio. We were very, very popular.
Hustling on the streets, making it happen, continuing with your brand, and look what you are today.
That was high school, and I'm 52 years old now, and I still do the same thing.
Good for you.
Still
Must
do the
enjoy
exact.
some aspect of it.
Well, I told myself a long time ago, it's a pretty good hustle.
Yeah.
Pretty good job. So I've been given advice by many, many people to walk away and give it up and act your age or whatever it is. Like, you can't be a rapper. You're 40. I'm like, that was 12 years ago and I'm still rapping. So there's no way I would quit this good job and just stop. Like, I could face the music if it was over.
Yeah.
And it was not profitable and it was no fun, I'd do something else in life, but it's still fun and it's still making money.
What's your brand today versus your brand back then?
Well,
Is there a difference?
It's okay. It's funny because back in the day, I sold millions of records and I did lots of tours and all this stuff and made lots of money. But the effort that you have to put into it now it's the same hustle, but the actual muscle it's a lot less work because there are so many platforms. Literally back then, you'd have to get somebody to buy one cassette, one album, one CD, buy it. That's how we get money. You want to go to a concert and have somebody buy a ticket. That's how we get money. Buy a t-shirt. Now it's just, streaming and all these endorsement opportunities. And you can, if you got popularity, you can people call you all day and say, hey, got a business proposition for you. So instead of having a few income streams attached to your popularity back in the 80s and 90s, now you have a dozen.
Right.
And if you're smart, like I love the rap game. I love what's going on right now because
what is going on right now?
You could literally get a hot record, 2 hot records, and fuck around and milk like millions of dollars off just 2 songs. Just a short little run of popularity can get you a lot of money if you got a good team, And it didn't always, back in the day, at the height of my popularity, I couldn't get a company like Live Nation or AEG to book me a tour where I make millions of dollars. I couldn't get a corporation to give me an endorsement deal and just,
What's your game plan now? What do you see the next 5 years looking like with your brand? With, are you going to still be performing, or do you want to go on a different?
Well, being from the Bay, early on, I was very curious as to what would the marriage between technology and music evolve into, and the Bay Area has been on the forefront of everything in that world. So I early on I started a digital record label where we no longer made physical copies of music. It was just click, buy it, and it's done. And nowadays the streaming is overriding the downloads, but streams are also money. So it's like basically we just even like just the gaming industry is so many things where music has a place. And I live in LA now. You can just wake up, the phone's ringing and somebody's like, I need a song for a TV show. Like it's just that type of stuff. You can make 50 grand placing a song on a TV show versus back then to get 50 grand, I'd have to sell thousands of copies. So it's the same hustle. It's just how you finesse it,
So what would your advice to the young up and comers or the ones who are inspired, hustling? What's your recommendation to them really quickly?
I think it's the same formula across the board. I think that the more I've researched and the more I've just studied myself and other people and just my surroundings, I think that you're really, if you're an overachiever, which I'm sure you are because you wouldn't be sitting here right now, you don't really have a lot of competition out there. There's not a lot of people trying to overachieve in life. People are trying to be really great. People are trying to be good. People are being, just up to par. Like, I need you to do this, and they do exactly that.
Right.
But I tend to see that the overachievers are the winners. Those are the ones you're like, why is Puff Daddy balling so hard? Well, Puff Daddy works 20-hour days, 24-hour days, and I've hung out with him in the midst of you looking at these pictures and the lights, and you look like he's having fun, but every minute, every time he stops and takes a photo, 2 seconds before that, he was doing a deal. 2 seconds after that, he's back on the phone. And he's like, it just, I hang out with Snoop Dogg. I hang out with a lot of people. Yeah. And it's a constant. When you see Snoop Dogg on his Instagram Live and you like watching the show, somebody's standing right behind him saying, hey, Snoop, need you to sign this. Hey, Snoop. So like, it's all day. And like, vacation is work,
Yeah.
So
constantly working.
That's where I'm at.
Do you have a balance going, or is that where you are 100% of the time?
I think that life is work,
Yeah.
If I take a vacation to me is booking a show in Hawaii and staying 3 days after the show. That's vacation.
Work and play. That's what we call it, right? Hard work and play.
So that's how we do it.
Well, we're getting to know you kind of behind the scenes and what you're about. And you're still in the game. You love what you do. It shows. I want to get into a little bit more of like the raw discussions of right now what's going on in California. So SacTown5 is about California. It's about what's happening here. It's about the leaders, the pioneers, the folks who, whether it's the music industry or another industry, they've made it here. They've succeeded here. So my question to you, a couple of topics that are hot right now, cannabis being one of them. So in 2019, that space is transforming. The kind of laws that are going to be going into place, we've been talking about some of them. And I want to get to know a little bit about what's your stance on cannabis. What do you think 2019 is going to look like entertainment industry wise? Give me your feedback on all that.
Okay, well, this state of California is, we know for many, many years politically in many different ways, California serves as a guinea pig to testing out laws, testing out all kind of stuff that just, if it works on California, you probably get it to work in other states. You know what I mean?
And it affects the rest of the country too.
That goes for like law enforcement. That goes so many across the board. So I think that early on, of course, I was there. I used to buy bags of weed on the street. I was one of those people who was pleased to know that you can go and tell the doctor that you had anxieties and insomnia and all these things, and you can get a medical card, whether it was just to make your recreational smoking legal, or whether you really needed it, because we do know that cannabis has very great medicinal qualities,
On that same note, actually, one of the bills that we've been discussing that the governor actually vetoed, the current governor, and the future governor, or new governor that's going to be coming into play this January, people are betting that he's going to actually pass this bill and make it law. It's called the Compassion Bill. And the Compassion Bill focuses on people who need it for health reasons to actually, have cannabis for free. So that's what the Compassion Bill will do. There are all these different bills. There's so much going on in that space. But you just said something that triggered a question in me. You brought up the fact that you've bought it. It's been around. There have been, many folks who've gone to prison, who've been convicted, or who've had things happen because they've either had possession of marijuana on them, or they were selling it, distributing it, etc. back in the day. Now that it's legal,
they're still in jail.
Right. So there's a new law in 2019 that's going into effect. And it's really hot because it includes the whole prison reform discussion. That's really also a hot piece in the celebrity space in California. So in California, this Assembly Bill 1793, what they're going to start doing is looking at folks who've been convicted or have records on because they've had the possessions. And they're going to assess by July of 2019, those folks, and either reduce their sentencing or remove it from their actual records because of the fact that recreational marijuana is now legal. What do you think about that? Is it about time? Who are the communities that really are being affected here? There's estimating over 200,000 people.
Yeah, there's a lot of sides to that story, because you have people who, legally, you're a California resident.
Yeah.
You love your smoke and you love your freedom of how you acquire it and possess it, and then you accidentally tip over to the wrong state and realize that what is so carefree and legal here is highly illegal somewhere else.
Right.
And this little small amounts get you in a lot of trouble.
Right.
And then you find out that those states, those Texas states and Georgia states and Alabama's, that people are in prison for small amounts of marijuana. And even when you talk about just California, people who were growers, people who were, just, you could have been a street dealer. And you got this massive case that put you away. And now people are free as a bird doing exactly what you did. And you're like, well, let me out.
Making money. And so
I do think we need to go back and retro release these guys, like get them out of there. It's not illegal. So
you're for the bill? Do you think it's about time, or do you think it's a little too late?
Yeah, I mean, I think the law should just work like that. If you change a law, you should not continue to criminalize people who broke the law back when. It's just it's not illegal anymore. It's like, hey, you sitting there for 5 more years, but for the next 5 years, anybody who does what you did, they can be free.
And that's a controversy.
Fair is fair.
It. Exactly.
And when you talk about incarceration, we already have decided for the last 20, 30 years to lock up so many unnecessary people, people who are sick, people who are not hardcore criminals, and we lock them away for a really long amounts of time. And I just think that that whole prison reform, I'm all about that. I'm all about getting some people home.
What do you think we need to do? When it comes to prison reform? I mean, it's hot in California. It's being discussed, prison reform federally as well. What do you think that needs to get done for it to actually have the effect that we're looking for?
Well, the fight has been fought, and it's like every fight that was fought was lost, all the way to the Supreme Court. There was time and time again where they kept keeping these unjust laws on the books. So I don't know how you go back. I don't know what the fight would be now after all that's taken place since the war on drugs and the war on crime. I don't know how we get out of this mess of having the most prisoners on the planet Earth. I just
and
don't.
they're looking at building more prisons instead of changing what you just said.
And I understand everything out here is capitalism. Everything out here is about making money. Everything is about private industry. But to lock your own people up for money, and how else can you describe it except it's a form of slavery? And you can put that on a race. You can put that it's against African Americans, Latinos, but there's a bunch of white people in jail too, and it's as
mentally ill people,
as disproportionate as it may be, it seems it's just so unjust. It's so unjust with what we're doing to American citizens, giving them these lengthy time jail sentences.
So recently we've had people like Kim Kardashians and so forth, and other celebrities heavily involved with prison reform discussions. Do you think that's had a big impact, and do you think more folks with the brand should get involved with this discussion?
I think anybody who would read some literature, like a book like The New Jim Crow, if you would read something, there's a lot of stuff out there, you would understand that this is not a new problem. This is, when they talk about mass incarceration, it didn't get that way recently. It's been a slow progress, and it's also part of a propaganda campaign. It's also part of some sort of kind of brainwashing where you're like, we have to lock these bad people up. You like, lock them up. And it's a lot of factors that play into it. And I just think that the route we're going now with our political divide, and everybody wants to social media announce how they hate everything else. We're just going in a bad direction with using these wonderful networking tools for negativity.
But it could also be used, like you just said, as a platform for folks to speak up and stand together and unite and stand for topics like prison reform or any other issues that are impacting society as a whole, and it's about time. So that whole aspect of what you're sharing, do you think it's now a time when folks who are taking a stand and it's showing up? I mean, CNN's been covering it. So many folks have been discussing this. That's now a time when our voices are being heard.
I mean, what is the effect of
change we've been looking for?
All the people that we locked up, that we took away from the kids, took away from their kids, their families? What is the trickle down to that?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And then it's other parts of it too. Is a part where once you criminalize a person and you turn them into a convict, and they come out of prison as an ex-felon, ex-convict, there's so many things that are against you surviving. So no matter how good you are in here inside as a person, it's against you.
It's against you because of the empathy piece. You're having empathy.
Sometimes you can't even come home to your family because of the paperwork. you want to come home and do right. You definitely can't come home and get on the right track and get back into society and to where you can elevate to say middle class or something. It's just the opportunities are so little.
Your storytelling brings up a lot of empathy in people who have experienced that, and there aren't just few, there are many. I want to see you take it actually a little bit more of a voice on platforms that you've been discussing and lead those things, because I think
I would love to be part of something.
So
I at every opportunity I'm very vocal.
Right.
I feel like I can sit you here right now and play you of songs that I've made many times over the years.
Yeah.
I think that I've been saying this is a trap. It's a trap.
What do you mean trap?
I mean, this whole, it kind of like the gang culture, the drug dealer imaging, the, you know, that whole inner city bravado about I gotta, you know, be like gangster and stuff. And it's a trap because, for one, when you're a young kid and you're selling drugs, the area where you sell drugs is called the trap. So you're like, I think I want to go to the trap and make some money. But dude, you're saying it out loud. It's a trap. Like they're literally gonna get you out there and trap you in a cage somewhere. And to know that the majority of this is fueled by private prisons or just, you know, that prison income of cheap labor. If you knew the truth, you probably would be like, well, let me go to college, or let me take my next 8 years and apply myself to something that would make me a lot of money legitimately instead of a quick fix of something that's going to get me 10, 20 years in prison. After a few years of making money, then I got to go do a long prison bid. So I just think that on one end, you have the laws and the unjust laws, but on the other end, you have a brainwashing that's like, let me prepare myself to go into this unjust criminal system, you know?
Do you think rappers and musicians have the brand and the actual influence that's needed for these young kids who are not
I think as a whole, I think that we're capable of doing something like, if you can remember how people interact in the movie Avatar and everybody.
Oh my God, my favorite movie. We were talking about the Tree of Life earlier.
Yeah, and it's just that I think that we are that powerful, that together things happen. When, you know, as simple as your team's losing and 50,000 fans are rooting for them and they bring themselves up and they come back and they win. And it's the shared energy that makes that happen. I just think that
the movements, right? It
also works in life. Like I really feel like we're disconnected and we don't support each other. And we literally like pick a side. You with me or against me? And we're always like that. And literally, what if we were all with each other? What would happen?
As a society.
What would happen?
Yeah.
Great things would happen. It probably would be
profound.
It probably would be literally magical.
I totally agree with you. And it's time. We need that now more than ever.
And I just think that you have to, in order to get it, because I talked to people about this in private. Yeah. And a lot of people don't get it. They don't get it because they don't care. They don't get it because they don't have the information.
Or don't understand, right?
Yeah, and it's like you look at what's right here, right now. And you don't look at what got us here. And if you look at what got us here, you'll know that different politicians came in and fought for different things. And we have this messed up system of all these battles and won and lost, and it goes so deep. Like, I don't know.
What's the one thing that keeps you up at night? And my final question to you is going to be, what's your passion? What's in your heart that you believe in when it comes to a movement or a cause that you would truly, maybe even consider getting more heavily involved in?
I think before social media, we had a way of being political without shoving it down each other's throat.
Interesting.
So I could spend a lifetime being your friend and never tell you that we have different beliefs on a certain issue, on a major issue. And we could maintain a wonderful friendship because we're not drilling that down, shoving that down each other's throats. But when we get to the polls, we vote and we fight, we fight for what we believe in. And then we come back and we're like, it's a democratic system. I believe in this, you believe in that. Now it's like, if you believe in that and I believe in this, I have to hate you. Yeah. And that's what keeps me up at night, is that we turn politics and religion into like hate. To me, it's always been like poisons of the world. If you go to what people fight over, they fight over you look different than me. Even if we're the same race, you're a different complexion than me. You're from that side, I'm from this side. You believe in that, I believe in that. It's always been,
Do you think it's fear-induced? Do you think it's because of people fearing what they don't understand? Or do you think
definitely, it's also, it's not genetic. It's something that is taught to you. You have to teach racism. You have to teach hate. You can't just, you can't put a bunch of kids in a room that are from different countries, different cultures, different races. Sit them in a room and they will not find one reason to hate each other until you tell them. You're supposed to hate him. You're supposed to hate her. And then they go, I don't like you.
So is that where your heart is to bring people together and sort of take away the hatred and the fears and have
I think that I always like to tell you something that'll make you go learn it for yourself. I hate to preach. I don't want to teach you what I know and just let me teach you something. I'd rather tell you where the knowledge is at. And you have to, because you could have multiple college degrees and not be smarter than a high school dropout. As far as common sense is concerned, you might have the answers to the equations, but you could still walk through life backwards and blindfolded.
Well, this has been actually more interesting than I even thought, because now we're getting deep talking about empathetic, issues when it comes to humanity. Before we end up solving world problems here, which I'd love to continue these dialogues with you at a later point. I wanted to wrap up because we've taken up more of your time. I know it's going to be showtime for you shortly. Thank you for your time, first and foremost. We're going to definitely share this content over time with our viewers. And I love the fact that you are passionate about these topics. You're California made, because your whole brand is from 30 plus years ago, has all been around California. And it shows. I mean, earlier before we went on air, we were talking about your love of Oakland. And
I wear it on my chest.
Yeah, and we're talking about the Avatar movie, and it totally reminded me, because it's been one of my favorite movies. And so when it comes to California, is there something that, I want to wrap up on this good note. When it comes to Oakland, when it comes to California, when it comes to your fan base, are there any releases of music? Does your music that you're releasing
I'm definitely all about the hip hop. I've tried a couple times to retire. It didn't work.
You're too young for that.
I'm thoroughly addicted to hip hop. I love helping people find their way. I love giving opportunities. I own multiple studios. I love giving young producers and artists, singers, rappers, video directors, just give them the tools to do what they want to do. So I'm still making music. Got a lot of music coming out. I just dropped the album about a month and a half ago. It's called The Pimp Tape. It's a sort of I haven't dropped the album in 6 years. Wow. So I just decided to
it's time.
Get back in there.
What's different between this tape you're dropping versus the former previous ones? Is there anything that you think that stands out to you more about this?
No, well, what's going on now is that we have all these ageisms. Hip hop is spewing over with it. It's like everybody's going, you're too young to do this, you're too old for that. And it's just like it's like an age battle, a generational battle going on in hip hop, and I'm not a part of it. So I'm supporting the young artists, and I'm also supporting the OGs. And it's like there's a lot of money to be made. I was telling you earlier, I make more money than I did. It's just more opportunity. So
it's amazing.
So I think like rock and roll, we just gotta just bridge the generation gap and keep making music. I want my young artists to be OGs like me one day.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Well, you heard it from Too Short himself directly. All kinds of political topics covered as well. Thank you again. You're gonna definitely check out. Good luck tonight with your performances.
No luck needed.
No luck ever needed. Right? We're gonna see hopefully Too Short more in Sacramento. Thanks for the love in Sacramento. And stay tuned. Thanks for the follows and the ads, SacTown5. And make sure to follow us if you haven't done so. Thanks so much.